So the way that the Boston ecosystem has kind of shaped startups and setting startups up for success, and what makes it different from other cities is it is definitely a close-knit network. Unlike
Mhm.
other cities where things are really spread out, and you kind of feel like you have to find a niche in what could be a very large city, I feel like Boston, because it has that tight geography, it has kind of a tight relationship geography as well. Is that you run across people all the time that know what's going on in other areas of the ecosystem. It's very friendly, collegial, and I've found incredible connections between people who, if I was at a larger city, I imagine it'd be quite difficult to have those same types of relationships. I mean, I was even in a call yesterday with someone who works with Innovation Studio, an organization that, I'm familiar with, I've gone to events for, and they do a lot of events with E for All, which I'm also familiar with and do a lot of events with, which is also relation with Impact Hub, which is also like, so once you click into this world,
Mhm.
and the referrals and the connections really happen very organically, and it's much more common for me to run into someone in the startup community on the train than really should be realistically plausible. One piece of advice I would give to startups who are starting to get into this ecosystem, into this world, is to start showing up. The, modern age post COVID, there has been a lot of energy in these online meeting spaces. And as someone who cares a lot about making work accessible to others, I'm not going to discount the value of virtual meetings, virtual networking groups, the metaverse. I'm very, very
Mhm.
bullish on that. But if you really want to get clicked into the ecosystem, show up to some events.
Sure.
Cafe at the CIC, go to, a talk that's being hosted at a bank. Start showing up, because I will promise you, you will start to see the same characters showing up at these different events. And those relationships, those super connectors, will get you introduced to the entire ecosystem. And you'll be shocked at how quickly you get integrated simply by showing up. I would challenge the idea of a balance, and more as to their different purposes for different things.
Mm.
To really build a network in the Boston ecosystem, the best way to do it is to show up and meet the people who also happen to show up, or dive into a specific subject matter. Go to those virtual environments, because you're going to find people beyond just the Boston geo to connect with around that specific niche and interest. One thing that I want to share to startups that are starting is, there's a million different ways a business can grow, a million different pieces of advice, a lot of, linked influencers telling you got to do this, or 5 quick hacks. And the the thing is that you don't have to do everything, and that if you try to do everything, you're going to fail. If you can do one thing really, really well, that's of course been a piece of a business advice a lot of people share. The one like really thing, the one interesting thing that a lot of startups don't know is that there are state funds available and so easy to access to help you gain skills on things that you're not good at, or to improve that one thing that you do want to focus on. And when you think about startups and state grants, they usually don't go in the same sentence, but the state of Massachusetts wants startups to be successful, and they have provided incredible funding. You can get up to $20,000 for training and education services to help you get better, to help you manage better, to help you design a better CRM workflow, to build a stronger business plan. Those resources are available. And, as you try to figure out what's that one thing you do better than everyone else, recognize you don't have to be the best, because there are funds, resources, support, mentors to help you become better and continue down that trajectory. And those are the people who are going to find long-term success. So what I see is kind of the biggest challenges for startups in the near future is recognizing that nobody cares about your brilliant idea, but they do care about the way that you can help others and
Mm-hmm.
support them. And I think this is like a tale as old as time. There's a vast majority of startups who are really inspired by their fancy solution, but did not do enough work to figure out the real problem. Social media fueled landscape. There's a lot of focus on the flashy, look at my inspiration, look how smart I am. And there's less of a focus on, let me go interview 20 people and ask them the same set of questions to confirm that the problem that people are really facing are really the problem that they need to have solved. And so, you could be brilliant, but if you don't help my day get easier or make me more money or connect me to more people, I don't really care how cool your AI powered whatever is. Specific around the Boston ecosystem, there is a lot of students
Mm-hmm.
in our world. There's a lot of people who are starting their careers, who are excited, ambitious, and ready to make an impact. And because of that energy, and because there's a lot of people with new ideas, new ways of thinking, there is a performative element to starting a startup that I think a lot of people accidentally find themselves into is posting a lot on social media about your process, posting on social media about what you've achieved,
Mm-hmm.
posting on social media about look how much struggle you are. Let me humble brag a little bit that you don't matter, but someone else's problem does. That's a really tough mindset for people earlier in their career
Mm-hmm.
to accept that nobody cares about your brilliant idea, but they do care that you can help someone. So what I see as my role in the Boston ecosystem is twofold. I'm motivated to help organizations build strong cultures where people can be successful, that they can be at their best. So that's a personal value that is also my business value. However, another role that I serve in the ecosystem is that I've been working with and still work as the chief operating officer at StartUp Boston.
Mm-hmm.
StartUp Boston's been around for now 8 years and has built quite a big audience of people who are startup curious, deeply invested in startups, investors, people who have exited, and helping grow that organization expands the pool for more people to enter it. So I see my role as both, can I teach best practices, or I like to call good practices, because if you say
Mm-hmm.
it's best, they don't really try any harder. Good practices around building a company that you can be proud of, while also inviting more people into the pool and building businesses that they can be proud of. So, and I'm happy to share all the failures along the way too, because I think that is the most important learning that you can get. One initiative that I was a part of in the Boston ecosystem was at Startup Boston Week, kind of Startup Boston's marquee event of the year. One of the things that Steph Rulick, the founder of Startup Boston, was she and I had talked about at a bar one day was, wouldn't it be cool to do a startup crawl? And we thought it'd be so much fun to like go visit things and have startups mix and mingle. And we decided at the bar, a couple drinks later, that we were going to do it. And the thing that really made me proud was when we kind of proposed the idea to a variety of co-working spaces and partners in the ecosystem, they were so excited to offer up their spaces so that this startup crawl could happen. WeWork was a huge supporter, underscore VC, Work Bar. These places, we reach out to them and said, hey, here's a wild idea. Do you want to be in on it? And they said, hands down, we are so excited. What else can we do? How else can we make this successful? And then when we actually ran that startup crawl, it went so well. It went better than a first time event should realistically go. I mean, there's so many ways that when you do something for the first time, it fails. This thing exceeded expectations across so many different levels. And I think it's because the ecosystem was so excited to make that experience be positive, be engaging for people who are in the startup world. And I still talk to people who are like, the startup call was like the funnest part of Startup Boston Week. I was like, oh yeah, what about the 100 hours of content that we organized and like the 200 speakers? No, startup call. That was so much fun. I got to meet this person. I got this thing, and this space was super cool. So I don't know. I look back at that as a big win. What is so like uniquely Boston? Like, what's a really Boston experience? And part of me loves the question because I love living here. I've lived in Boston since 2005. But part of me also hates the question because Boston is it's evolving so fast. It's hard for me, one white middle class male, to put my finger on how that's changing and how that's evolving. One unique thing that I have been really proud to be a part of is this organization called Hack Diversity. And Hack Diversity was originally founded by the New England Venture Capital Association, wanted to find a way to get underrepresented talent into jobs in tech, especially entry-level jobs, and started several years ago and has seen remarkable growth in a way that like boggles my mind. I feel like every time I talk to the Hack team, there's like 5 new people on their staff. Um, and I think that is really uniquely Boston to look at how equity is spread across the city and finding pathways and partnerships to get talented people who are overlooked by traditional criteria into jobs where not only they can grow and be successful, but that the organizations too can grow and change and become more equitable, inclusive spaces. And, Hack has expanded to other cities, but it started here. And I can't wait to see how that organization grows and how other organizations that are improving transparency and equity in the tech and startup world continue to flourish as well. So that's the best way I can answer. It's like, it's always changing, but boy, there's some groups that are helping drive that change in directions that I think feel very Boston.